Looking at this now coalition here, is there an opportunity for the youth maybe to plug in and ensure that they're represented? Remember, like yesterday we mentioned, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. So for a long time, the youth have been part of the menu. They're used by the politicians to whip up emotions. They're mobilized when the politicians want to get an agenda passed because they're available. They need they're there. But in terms of now policy and being on the table, deciding table, we don't see them well represented.
No, we don't, and it's an interesting conundrum because these political parties are majorly young people.
Right.
And they're the ones who will be at the rallies or at the public meetings or even, you know, supporting these leaders, many of them. But then when you see within the leadership, even their youth leagues are weak, where they don't quite have a voice when it comes to the executive committee sitting, where a young person should have a seat there. They don't necessarily have a voice, yet they have the majority of the party behind them. So it's something that it's quite sad because even when you look at the counties right now, from both sides, the government or opposition, you will see that those young people who are within the government somehow might either be very involved in the party and they were rewarded, or a relative of that particular political leader. And that's what's happening in our counties. We're seeing a lot of nepotism happening. So what we're saying is not necessarily young ambitious people have a chance, it's those who have favor from the party, who managed to make it within those party ranks. And it's something that when we have discussions with young people in the counties, they have seen that. Because when we ask how many of you are members of these parties, you'll see young people raise up their hands with actually they have membership cards where they want to be involved in the party, they want to know about the manifesto and ideologies, but they know that there's just a lot of sycophancy. They know that this is not what can bring development in our country.
How do they then plug in? Because they seem to be active in everything apart from leadership.
You see, one thing that we have to recognize, which is a very major issue, is the amount of money that went through last year during electioneering period. Billions upon millions. And a lot of young people used that period to actually hustle. A lot of them were working with particular politicians. Some even dropped out of school
to go and
campaign. And when you're seeing that, you're beginning to realize the economy is really bad. We talk about unemployment all the time, but do we really understand how bad the situation is? Where someone does not mind receiving a few shillings at a rally because it will allow them to survive for at least a week. That's a problem. So when you have people who are hungry, how do you expect them to start thinking about solutions? People are thinking about food. So you can't come and tell young people that, or, you know, you need to vote for someone who has ideologies, but they don't have food on the table that night. They'll
go for the food.
They will go for the food.
Right.
So it's very difficult to come and start talking solutions, strategy, things that take time without first talking about the economy for young people, access to resources, business opportunities. Before we even engage young people on systems put in place, we have to engage them on how to be accountable citizens, which would mean them having access to these things.
All right. Bernard, the youth form a bigger constituency. They are the majority, but somehow don't seem to be included in the decision-making. Where do they go wrong, do you think?
Young people in this country are very creative first, and they have the energy to implement a number of programs within the political parties or within the political field. But it's the intention of the leadership of these political parties to see young people defranchised, because they will take that opportunity now to advance their interests, to advance their goals. And if you have an informed, young generation, then it makes it very difficult for you as a leader to be able to control the larger population. So I think as young people, young people need to organize themselves within those political parties, join a political party of your choice, because if you join a party, then you are able to influence to give in some input and influence some decisions. But if we just remain on the periphery and make noise from the periphery, you are not engaging directly, then it becomes very difficult for these political leaders to actually know what the young people really want within those political parties. And this one also goes to the middle class in this country, because for a long time, we have seen young people who are educated, who have, good income generating activities, not really interested in political activities. They are so much good in keyboard, in making noise on keyboard
warriors, they're called,
all the time. But on issues that affect the country politically, they withdraw. But at the end of the day, they are the same people who complain that, there's no jobs, there's these
the services are not up to scratch.
So we need this middle class who sit on the periphery to come on the table and be part of these discussions, become part of this discourse, so that we have a transformed society, and a society that really takes politics not as a means to gain some, to accumulate wealth, but something that can help in the governance of this country.
Absolutely.